take the floor. He knows what to do.
Preachers have to be ready to do anything. We're glad to be with you this morning. It is our joy and delight. We have made plans as a family to be here. And I would like for all of our group, first of all, to stand up. There are 21 couples in the Warren family. We were just looking for you, Bill. But we're very glad to be with you, and thank you for sharing this service with us today, because this has very special meaning for us. We are our great-grandfather, 21 cousins of us. There are 19 here today. 3 couldn't be here. But there are 19 cousins of us in our family. Some of us where their children or grandchildren are here this morning. But our great-grandfather, Oscar and Helen Warren, lived out on 78, moved into Nashville, but they were members of this church. We have traced our roots back, and they were members of this church, and we have a wonderful legacy right here. We understand that we're very fine Christians, and we have a wonderful heritage. And we just wanted to share this a little bit with you this morning before we try to sing a couple songs. But we're just happy to be here. And all of our families, first time we've come together in a long time, if we've ever been in this capacity. And of course, we're the second generation from Oscar. And all of the original family of Oscar, or Ivan Warren, well, I'm getting it all mixed up. Hope it'll straighten it out. But let him come and speak and tell you a little bit about our family history you might be interested in knowing. Probably none of you can remember the Warrens back that far. They told me there was a lady here that just passed away that probably knew them, because she went way back many years into the history of this church. All right, Clifford, tell us a little bit, bring us up to date on history.
You got it more accurate than I did.
Here, just let it hand you to the second one, like down there,
I said 30.
Just keep talking.
Okay. I said 30, and I'm very pleased with the turnout. I really don't know. We're coming in. This was my day off. So I don't have anything to say. But, you know, there's a couple things. As a church, you never know the influence you have. And how it grows and spread. Sometimes those that remain in the church and be faithful over the years, you sometimes wonder, is anything really being accomplished? You don't see growth sometimes like you want, and you don't. But it happens. Spiritually, it happens. And those of the family, we've gone through the history, and we've gone through that, and those of the church, if you're interested, they can share what we know. We really didn't find direct membership, but we did find a pastor's name, and we found in the obituaries, we got bits and pieces, so we put it here. And the building was dated, so we knew that it all kind of fit together as best we could. But I do know this. Yesterday, we kind of did a tour through town. We stopped here at the church, and I was reading through the obituaries, telling the history of my grandma. And I was touched by her memory, by her spirit. And I thought, it'd be neat if she knew that her witness had carried through. And then it'd also be neat to know that our witness had carried through generations from now. And that we'd be able to come back, and maybe not come back again for that, but to realize that we were faithful. I said we'd have about 30 at home now. So you can be like, is there 60 here? But I told him, you know, I said, you don't have to worry about to you as a church and family.
I thought maybe you'd give us a little more history. Oscar and Helen Warren had 5 children. Their oldest was Elmer Warren, and he lived out here in Woodbury. We went to his place yesterday out on, what road was that? Is that Vermontville Road or Woodbury? Irish Road. That was his farm. They had another son named Arnold Warren, and some of his family here. Would they stand up? Arnold, yes, right here. They're from not too far from here. And their family come in together with us. And then they had another son, Ivan. He was the baby, Ivan Warren. And the 19 of us come from that group, Ivan Warren. And so we are glad to be here. There was also 2 daughters. And we can't, I don't remember their names now. Lena Warren, and I don't know the other. But anyway, that's how we got in here, and we are really glad to be here today. All right, I told them we'd have a couple songs. I really didn't have a chance to look through the hymnal. I didn't know, you know how families scatter, it's hard to get us together. But I'm going to have all my family come up here first. Yeah, all of the Warren, this is Vernon. I should tell you now that Ivan and Edna, Ivan Warren was saved here in this church. From our records we found from his own testimony, he was saved here in the Methodist Church in Nashville. And they grew up right out here, he and his brother Arnold, and Elmer out here right on 78, the old home place out here. Sometime Oscar and Helen must have, I don't know if they sold the farm, but anyway, they moved into Nashville, probably in their older years. And we found out where they lived right over here, and somewhere over here. We have a lot of history. We have one of my aunts, probably just to give you the information, was struck by a railroad train coming through here when our grandpa and grandma, our grandfather and grandmother came back from India. And their oldest daughter, which was only a year and a half, 18 months old, was struck by a train. And we got all the details, how they backed the train up and brought her to the depot right over here, the old depot. And the doctor came here, and she survived. She lived. It was a miracle. My grandfather said she's going to live. The doctor didn't want to set her bones. She had broken arms, broken legs. The cowcatcher hit her. She was following her little dog. They had her all ready to go to church, probably right from this church here. And she slipped out of the house some way and followed the little dog across the street, and the little train hit her. If you go back, I don't know if you remember, but it was quite a traumatic experience here in the town from what we gathered. A tremendous outflow of love. And so we have a lot of rich history right here in Nashville. Now, what did I leave out? Anyway, Oscar and Ivan Warren, or Ivan. Ivan was the son of Oscar Warren. And he went to God's Bible School, felt a call to preach. He said the Lord spoke to him when he was 18 or 19. He told the Lord to leave him alone, and he never heard the voice of God again until he was 23 years old. And he was out here plowing in the field with the horses, and God spoke to him and said, I want you to preach. And he said, yes, Lord. When God spoke another time, he made arrangements and went to God's Bible School in Cincinnati, Ohio. And he went there about 2 or 3 years, I think, to the Bible college down there in Cincinnati. He met a sweet little girl from Pennsylvania. Her name was Edna Shaw. And it was interesting to hear about their courtship, you know, how she happened to lock her keys in her trunk, and he had to help her get her keys out of the trunk, you know. And they started a relationship, started communication. And they worked together down in the slums of Cincinnati. We have quite a history there. They were both very evangelical. They were Christians, you know. They really went out and spread their faith. My grandmother worked she worked also in Kansas City for a while, Edna Shaw, before they married. And she worked down in the streets, right in the slum section of Kansas City as well as Cincinnati. But they married, and from what we can gather, within the first year of their married life, they had a call. They wanted to go to India. They felt called to India. And they left Michigan here and they went to New York, stopping in Mansfield, Pennsylvania, my grandmother's place. And her father there took them, Grandpa Shaw took them all the way, took them across to New York. And they were put on the boat that took them across. They were quite a long while getting over there to India. And reading through all the papers, you could not believe the trials, the things that happened, you know. Their support went out. They had 15 children they were taking care of in an orphanage, trying to supply for, trying to build a church. My grandmother got sick when she had her first baby, Helen, which was the one that was hurt here in Nashville when they came back into the train. Sickness, and then after 2 years, my grandfather had a stroke because of the heat, I guess, in Ara, India, which is the northern part of India. They went down to Calcutta, but then they sent them back up into northern India at Ara, A-R-R-A-H, and right near the, I think, the Chinese border. It wasn't too far from the border from what they wrote in the papers. But anyway, they did missionary work there, and until he had that, it was a blood clot on the back of his neck. He suffered terrible headaches, and the doctor, Indian doctor over there, told him that he should come back to the States. When he came back, and he told him, he said, I would not go back to that planet. They could not dissolve that cloud. They did dissolve it finally about 5 years before he died. An Indian doctor in Lapeer, Michigan, dissolved it. Maybe getting too much history, but they came back here, and in about 1910, 1909, 1910, they came back to Ohio, and then they came back up here to Nashville, back to his home roots, and then they joined the Church of the Nazarene. And from there, they pastored 25 years. Of course, that's where all of our family came from. Ivan and Edna had 5 children. The oldest was Helen Warren, and then the second one was Kenneth Warren, and then Delmer Warren, and then Dorothy Warren, and then there was Vernon Warren. Vernon Warren is my dad. He was the baby. And the rest of us are all from Dorothy and Helen and Delmer and Ken. So those were the 5 children of Ivan and Edna Warren, who were the parents, Ivan, who was the parents of Oscar and Helen Warren. So that's where our heritage has brought us to this day. And we are real thankful for, as Clifford said, for our heritage and the fact that we have something to be proud of, and that our lives do speak, you know, and we're speaking every day. And so this is a product. And of course, we've got children and grandchildren that couldn't be here today. The family's much bigger than this. But we're glad for those that came to be with us today in this wonderful occasion. Do any of you want to add anything to the family? All of you silent. Okay. I'd like for, of course, I've been a minister for 34 years, and I should say that my father grew up in North Star, Michigan, Ithaca, Michigan, in Gratiot County, because that was the last pasture that Ivan and Edna served. That was the last pasture he was in when he took sick, had a stroke, and they are both buried up in Gratiot County in Michigan. I mean, up in central Michigan. And that's where my father stayed. I guess he was the youngest of the family, so he stayed there in Gratiot County. Now our other uncle, Delmer, moved right over here by Kalamazoo, Bloomingdale, and he settled right around here. He stayed the closest to the roots here. And of course, our Aunt Helen, well, that was quite a story. I don't know if anybody wanted to share with that or not, but it was a miracle how she healed and come together, and had 5 beautiful children. And they lived in Flint, Michigan. And then our other uncle, Ken, he was from, I don't know, central Michigan, up there around Ithaca, Michigan, right up there. And Dorothy, of course, was around there. She stayed right around there, too, with my dad, Vernon. But in 1956, my dad had the Warrens are very brave, shall we say, looking for a new challenge. My grandfather was like that. He went to Florida with an old Model A. We got pictures of that. Went down there to camp meeting in Florida Holders Camp. Built a house down there for $500. We read about that, and he loved to go to Florida in the winter. This was way back in 1920, somewhere along there, 30 maybe. And so they went to Florida. My dad decided at 56 he's going to take 6 children. 6 children to Florida. So away we went, and we settled down there. So we've all settled around in Florida, except for one of my brothers in Wisconsin. So we have an interesting history. I want my family to come and sing a song with us. I got one sister that may not be able to sing, but I said, make your mouth go anyway. The rest of us will cover up for it. But I would like for my family to come. My wife's going to come and play. And I did find, I found a beautiful hymn. I know all of us know it, and you probably know it. But this won't be a problem to sing. Bring a songbook with you.
Jesus.